The Data Farm project has been a really exciting initiative, not just for Longerenong College, but for the region as a whole. It was born out of regional partnerships, which is a government initiative where they have a direct conduit to each of the regions around Victoria.
What the Wimmera and Southern Mallee Regional Partnership had identified was that the lack of uptake of technology, or in particular digital agriculture, was holding back productivity in the region. So they said to government, we need to do something that we can promote the adoption of digital ag, whether that be the use of precision ag equipment or whether it was the use of IoT devices on farm to actually improve productivity and profitability in the region, particularly in the grains industry.
There seemed to be a lot of farmers who wanted to, but they just needed to be guided and for that whole AgTech to be demystified.
The idea behind the Data Farm is to provide a demonstration farm on a commercial scale for the grains industry of all the different types of digital ag that we can put on the farm as a way of showing the farming community that the use of this digital ag can improve their lifestyle or improve their productivity on the farm. Obviously, being an educational institution here at Longerenong College, the Data Farm was a perfect fit for us. It gives us the opportunity to be able to demonstrate the technology to visiting groups, but also to integrate it into our courses as well. We strongly believe that this is the future of agriculture, that there's going to be more and more digital ag, giving us the opportunity to measure a lot of those variables that we can't control, but things that we can actually measure. So in terms of what it means for Longerenong College, it gives our students exposure to the latest and greatest in the technology. Hopefully they'll be able to carry some of that into their careers, but also be able to take it back onto their farms and implement some of that technology onto their farms as well.
There's going to be a wide range of groups who come and use the Data Farm, and obviously farmers will come here and they'll be exposed to all the latest technologies, but not just farmers, there's a lot of other interested groups, and we've seen this at other smart farms where we have primary school kids, secondary school kids, and it's great exposure for them, particularly at a young age, to go, oh wow, look at the opportunities in agriculture. I think agriculture's moved so far, and there's still a lot of people, dare I say, in the city communities who still think farming's sitting on a tractor going round and round a paddock. Those days are gone. You know, when you get in a tractor now, you need to be able to understand computers. You know, you're very tech savvy. So we want to expose those young people to the myriad of opportunity in agriculture. Not only that, you know, we'll have a lot of visitor groups, just general interest groups who just want to come and see what's happening in agriculture.
What we're actually expecting is that we're going to have large groups of farmers who want to come along and have a look at the technology for themselves without actually having to spend any money, see how we're using the data that we're collecting, and maybe see if it's got a fit for their own properties.
The key objectives of the Data Farm is really exposing students and industry players to the latest ag technology. In our research in developing the farm, we've certainly found that there's a lot of the farming community and the agribusiness sector as well who really want to get involved in ag tech, but they just find it so confusing. They just need a little bit of help navigating their way through it. And I use the term demystifying this whole ag tech sector for them. They're keen, they're enthusiastic, they want to get involved in ag tech. So the Data Farm is the vehicle to help them get involved in ag tech. Technology has to be the way of the future, and these people have to have the skills and knowledge around technology. They need to understand it. They need to be able to use the equipment. They need to be able to gather data and then to actually know how to use that data. And I guess that's been one of the missing links. We've talked about yield maps in headers. For over 20 years, farmers have been capturing that data, but even now, there's still a great proportion of farmers who don't actually use that data to help them increase productivity or to make more money in the future. So it's about how do we skill up the next generation.
The criteria for selecting the technology was basically to go out there and find out what it was about. Now, Simon Blythe from LX did a fantastic job with interviewing farmers, finding out what their needs were and finding out what we might be able to use the available technology for, finding out from farmers what was important to them and being able to apply some technologies that we haven't seen in the grains industry before and actually bringing it onto the Longerenong data farm. We chose LX because they seem to be the ones that were the most tuned into what we wanted to actually achieve here. Our experience with LX has been that they've come in right at the base level, wanted to know what the farmers wanted and wanted to gear the devices that they put on the farm towards what was important to the people in the Australian grains industry. Certainly the interviews that were done locally with the farmers, we've had some really good feedback that these devices were going to be put on the farm as a result of someone listening to what their problems were. The guys from LX have been great to work with. We've been able to have really open conversations about what we're doing here, and we've always been able to make sure that we get exactly what we want. In terms of products, the fact that LX could provide us with pretty much everything that we wanted, we could do it all on the one network and it could be all displayed on the one dashboard without any problems. That's been a big benefit to the data farm as well.
Throughout the interview series, we discovered a lot of people were feeling a bit guilty about spending time, mucking around, messing around with data. And we also found that it was sometimes viewed as a bit of a play activity, after dinner, with a few beers, kind of to get a few bits of data and trying to actually look at developing some theories on what's working well and what's not. It's one thing to deliver data to people full stop. It's another thing to deliver data to people in a way that is curated and easy to ingest and pull it together in a way that is really, really easy to visually see, whether it be yield maps or rainfall maps or soil compaction, whatever it might be, so that you can help people to build their theories about what's working, what's not, and what they might be able to change next year.
We've got a whole range of initiatives on the Longerenong farm. We've started with 30 initiatives. Some really low-hanging fruit in terms of soil moisture probes, weather stations, rain buckets, but also some more experimental type technology as well.
I guess through the whole discovery phase of the data farm, we discovered there's a whole lot more things that we can do with the available technology in terms of applications for the Australian grains industry. There's also time-saving devices that will monitor things like trough levels and tank levels so that you don't have to actually go and leave the house to actually see what's going on with those. Things that will help with logistics, so being able to track where different vehicles are and that sort of thing. Farm security as well, like depending on who you talk to, that can become a really important issue. Just knowing when something's occurring on your property, particularly if you live remotely to that farm. There's a lot of different initiatives though that are going to solve a lot of different problems for different people.
We've seen AgTech really grow in the last couple of years, and if we use other industries as the model, so if we look at the mining industry, we look at the manufacturing industries, we've seen this explosion in technology. Agriculture, it's fair to say, is lagging a bit behind, but really quickly I think we're seeing the whole farming community want to get involved in AgTech.
I think we're going to see an escalation in different devices for measuring different parts of our farming practices over the next 10 years. So I think it's going to have a huge impact on ag long term that will really make a difference in the grains industry.
It is government funded, this project, so we have to meet KPIs. And we've got to get visitors here to the facility, and we've got to be able to show that more of the farming community have taken up ag technology. And that can be as simple as a soil moisture probe on their property.
So what we're expecting over the next 5 years is we'll be able to explore what we can use this technology for, but there'll also be advances in this technology. So we're hoping that we can keep up to date with the latest and greatest and expose our students and the farming community to that as well.
We're making sure that our systems are capturing all this data, because even though we get that data from day one, we might not use some of it until 2 or 3 years down the track.
People could go, you know what, that's great. I see value in that. I'm going to take it home and do it tomorrow on my own property. And the insights that we find here, we can share with those farmers, and they can benefit from exactly the same technology.
The data farm is the first smart farm of its type in Australia for the Australian grains industry. What we will end up producing here in terms of the data farm will be well regarded globally.